Welcome to Rare Breed Brotherhood. True strength doesn't compete, it outlasts. This isn't about who shouts louder or who leads the pack. This is about who stands firm when life stops playing fair. In a world obsessed with status and being seen, the real winner is often the one you never saw coming. Alphas are loud. They crave recognition and thrive on dominance. Sigmas, they don't need the spotlight. They're not here to play anyone's game. They're building their own world quietly and powerfully. When life throws curveballs, the alpha demands control. The sigma, on the other hand, adapts in silence. He doesn't panic. He recalculates. Some people only move when they're pushed. The sigma moves because he sees through everything before it hits. That's his edge. That's why in the most revealing situations, the ones that strip away status, noise, and applause, the sigma comes out stronger. You might not fit in, and that's not a weakness. That's a message. You're not here to blend into systems that don't serve your spirit. You're here to outthink, outgrow, and outlast. Being a sigma means you don't need permission. You don't wait to be chosen. You choose yourself. And when tested, your stillness speaks louder than anyone else's roar. If you've ever felt out of place, misunderstood, or underestimated, understand this. Those are signs of depth, not failure. You're not behind. You're just not built for shallow waters. Stay quiet, stay sharp. The real ones don't announce, they arrive. Let's dive in rare breeds. Number 1. When no one is watching. Here's the moment that separates boys from men, noise from substance, and performance from truth. When no one's clapping, no likes, no followers, no spotlight, just you and the quiet. That's where the difference shows. Alphas love attention. They feed off it. They move fast, talk big, and crave validation. Their energy comes from being seen, but remove the stage, and you'll often find someone unsure of who they are without an audience. Their confidence is borrowed from praise, from power, from being on top. Now here's where the sigma steps in. Different energy entirely. He doesn't need anyone watching to stay on his path. He does the work when no one's clapping. He sharpens his skills in the dark. He builds in silence. He makes choices not because they'll impress someone, but because they align with who he is. That's rare, and that's why it's powerful. When the crowd is gone and the noise fades, most people stall. But not the sigma. That's where he thrives. He doesn't need applause to feel alive. His motivation isn't external, it's internal. His discipline runs deep. No cameras, no pats on the back. Just him, his vision, and his commitment. You want to know who really wins in the end? Watch what happens when the room empties, when the lights go off. That's the test. That's where true character shows. So if you're out there doing your thing quietly, with no one cheering, keep going. That's not failure. That's strength. You don't need to be seen to matter. And the truth is, the most powerful people usually aren't loud about it. They don't chase attention. They command respect without asking for it. They don't perform. They just are. And in a world full of noise, that kind of quiet is deafening. Number 2. When everything falls apart. This is the moment most people fear. When the job is gone, the relationship breaks, the money dries up, or life just stops making sense. Everything feels like it's crashing, and the floor disappears beneath your feet. That's when masks fall off. That's when people show you who they really are. The alpha's first instinct? Call the troops. He gathers his people, leans on his network, and tries to recover his position with support. That's his way. He needs the tribe, needs the noise, needs others to help hold up the image he's built. There's nothing wrong with needing help, but there's a difference between leaning on support and depending on it for identity. Now look at the sigma. The moment life breaks, he vanishes, not to hide, not out of fear, but to rebuild without distractions. He doesn't broadcast his pain or explain his silence. He cuts off the outside noise, sits in the wreckage, and starts working with what's left, quietly, methodically. With focus that would scare most people. He does not chase comfort. He faces the mess. He becomes his own army, not out of pride, but out of necessity. He knows no one is coming to save him, and that doesn't discourage him. It sharpens him. This is what makes sigmas different. When life crumbles, they do not collapse. They get still. They get serious. They get to work. While others scramble to be seen as okay, the sigma becomes okay in solitude, and when he finally returns, he doesn't come back the same. He's stronger, sharper, and more grounded. You won't hear his story in real time. You'll just see the results and wonder how he made it look so effortless. That's the quiet strength no one talks about, and it only shows up when everything else falls away. Number 3. When rejected or ignored. Rejection hits everyone. It stings. It confuses. And for most people, it triggers something deep inside that says, prove yourself. Make them regret it. That's exactly where the alpha steps in. He doesn't like to be overlooked. He'll chase the spotlight even harder, raise his voice louder, do more just to prove he still matters. It's all about being seen, being accepted, being validated. But the sigma, completely different mindset. Rejection doesn't light a fire under him. It turns off the switch. He doesn't argue. He doesn't beg for a seat back at the table. He walks away like he was never there, not because he's weak, but because he understands something most people never learn. His worth isn't up for debate. The alpha needs to be acknowledged to feel powerful. The sigma knows silence is more powerful than any comeback. Ignoring a sigma doesn't insult him. It informs him. He watches how people treat him, and that becomes all the data he needs to make a clean decision. He doesn't react. He exits. And here's the thing. That exit is never loud. It's so quiet that by the time people realize he's gone, they also realize what they lost. That's the twist. You see, the sigma protects his peace like it's sacred, and it is. He knows you don't need to scream to be heard. Sometimes, disappearing speaks the loudest. While the alpha burns energy trying to win the crowd, the sigma invests that same energy into his next move, quietly, without noise, without proving anything. So the next time someone ignores you or shuts a door in your face, pause. You don't need to prove you belong. You just need to keep becoming so real, so solid, so undeniable that their silence becomes irrelevant. Peace always wins in the long run, and the sigma knows that. Number 4. When they lose control. Life will throw you into situations you never saw coming. Plans crumble. People disappoint. Things shift fast and without warning. This is where the real difference shows, between those who need to control everything and those who can stay calm when nothing is going their way. The alpha needs the wheel in his hands. He feels powerful when he's directing everything, when others are moving to his rhythm. But the moment things start slipping, he unravels. He argues. He tightens his grip. He tries to force things back into order. His strength depends on structure, and when that structure breaks, so does his balance. Now take a look at the sigma. He doesn't flinch when things fall apart. He doesn't chase control. He watches. He reads the room. He sees where the current is pulling, then quietly adjusts his sail. While others panic, he adapts, and because of that, he rarely drowns in chaos. He uses it to find a new route. The sigma understands a truth that most people avoid. Control is an illusion. What really matters is how you carry yourself when everything's out of your hands. Power isn't about barking orders or dominating situations. It's about staying composed when everyone else is cracking. It's about being able to think clearly when emotions are running wild. This is why sigmas come out stronger from storms. They do not resist the waves. They learn how to move with them. They don't explode. They don't collapse. They redirect. So when you feel the urge to panic, to force something back into place, pause, watch, think. Power is not about making everything bend to your will. It's about knowing when to bend without breaking, and that is where the sigma always wins. Not in controlling the chaos, but in mastering himself within it. Number 5. When surrounded by fake people. This is one of those situations that tests your core. You're in a room full of smiles, compliments, and surface-level conversations, but something feels off. The energy is plastic, the words are rehearsed, and behind every grin is a motive. The alpha picks up on it, sure. But instead of pulling away, he leans in. He plays the game. Why? Because fake or not, it's still a crowd, still attention, still a platform he can use. He'll laugh at jokes he doesn't find funny. He'll nod at ideas he doesn't believe in. It's all part of keeping the room under his thumb. Influence matters more than truth in his world. Now here comes the sigma. He doesn't play that game. The moment he senses masks and empty energy, he mentally checks out. No drama, no scene, just silence. You blink, and he's gone. Not because he's weak or scared of conflict, he just refuses to breathe the same air as insincerity. He values his peace more than popularity. His time is sacred. His energy isn't up for grabs. So when the space feels fake, he doesn't adapt to it. He removes himself from it. No warning, no goodbye, just a clean, silent exit. This isn't about arrogance, it's about self-respect. The Sigma knows that playing along comes with a cost, your integrity, and he's not willing to pay that price. Here's the truth. Anyone can be liked in a room full of masks. But the Sigma isn't interested in being liked. He's interested in being real. And in a world full of performers, that kind of presence is rare. So when the room gets fake, let others perform. You don't owe anyone your presence, especially if you have to lose yourself to keep it. Number 6, in a room full of loud voices. Some rooms are filled with noise. Everyone's talking over each other, trying to sound important, trying to dominate the space. The louder the voice, the more people seem to believe it equals strength. That's where the alpha thrives. He jumps in, commands attention, competes to be the loudest. He's not just speaking, he's performing. To him, the room is a stage and silence feels like losing. But the Sigma, different rhythm entirely. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to impress anyone. While the others are busy trying to outshine each other, he's doing something far more powerful. He's paying attention. He's watching the patterns, reading body language, catching what's not being said. He lets others reveal themselves through their noise, because people always do. They show their fears, their insecurities, their real intentions. All he has to do is stay quiet and observe. By the time the meeting is over or the group has finished arguing, the Sigma already knows what really happened beneath the surface. He doesn't fight for the spotlight. He leaves with the leverage, the knowledge, the advantage. You see, real power is not in who talks the most. It's in who understands the most. And that rarely comes from speaking. It comes from listening with precision. So next time you're in a room full of loud voices, remember, the Sigma is not falling behind. He's watching the whole game unfold. And when he finally makes a move, it lands 10 times harder, because it was never based on noise. It was built on insight. Number 7. When they're outshined, there's always going to be someone more praised, more admired, more talked about, someone getting the attention you thought was yours. That's where egos get tested. And this is exactly where you see the split between the alpha and the Sigma. The alpha doesn't like being outshined. It feels like a threat, like something's being taken from him. So what does he do? He ramps up, he competes harder, talks louder, tries to outdo whoever stole the spotlight. To the alpha, everything is a race, and coming second means disappearing. But the Sigma, he sees it differently. He doesn't feel the need to fight for the same light. When someone else shines, he doesn't compete. He recalibrates. He steps back, watches quietly, and redirects his energy. While the alpha is busy trying to reclaim the spotlight, the Sigma is quietly building a whole new direction, one that doesn't require applause. The Sigma doesn't measure his worth by how many people are clapping. He measures it by how real his path feels. If someone else is shining brighter, he doesn't get jealous. He gets clearer. That's when he starts building something of his own, something deeper, something that can't be compared. He doesn't need to be seen to feel valuable. He needs to stay aligned with his vision. That's the difference. And here's the twist. While the alpha chases temporary attention, the Sigma builds something that lasts. A space that's entirely his. A universe where he isn't one of many, but the only one doing what he does. So when you feel outshined, don't chase the same spotlight. Build your own world. That's what the Sigma does. And in the end, that always speaks louder than competing for attention ever could. Number 8. When women choose. Attraction isn't always about who shows up first. It's about who stays on a woman's mind long after the moment has passed. That's where the alpha and the Sigma take two very different roads. The alpha shows up strong, loud charm, confident posture, a presence that says, "Look at me." And many do. He's used to turning heads. He knows how to win a crowd. His energy is magnetic, but it's surface level. He dominates the space, and that draws attention, quickly but often temporarily. Then there's the Sigma. He doesn't show up to impress, he shows up as himself, calm, still, unbothered. He doesn't chase, he doesn't perform, he doesn't need validation, and that's exactly what makes people lean in. He's not trying to be mysterious, he just doesn't give his energy away to everyone. And that creates something rare: pull. While the alpha wins the room, the sigma wins the mind. He leaves behind something more than a moment. He leaves a mark, because depth always lingers longer than dominance. The sigma connects in ways that go beyond charm. He listens differently. He sees through things most miss. He asks real questions. He doesn't talk to be heard, he talks to understand. And that kind of presence stays with a woman. It cuts through the noise. Sure, the alpha might impress 10, but the sigma, he might connect with 1 or 2, and those connections shake the ground quietly. So when women choose, it's not always about who caught their eye. Sometimes it's about who reached a place in them others didn't even know existed. The alpha may be unforgettable for a moment. The sigma becomes unforgettable without even trying, and that is the difference between being noticed and being felt. Number 9. When plans fail. Life doesn't care how confident you are. It doesn't ask how prepared you feel. Sometimes it just flips the table. The deal falls through. The goal gets blocked. The path you mapped out disappears overnight. That's when you find out what someone is really made of. The alpha hates that kind of chaos. He's wired to lead, to dominate, to stay in control. So when his plan fails, it rattles him. He scrambles to fix it. He pushes harder. He forces things to fall back into place, even when they clearly no longer fit. To the alpha, losing a plan feels like losing power. But the sigma? Whole different story. When the plan falls apart, he doesn't panic. He pauses. He looks around. He figures out what's still working and what can be left behind. He doesn't take failure personally, he takes it as new information. To him, every detour holds something useful. The sigma doesn't fight reality, he flows with it, but never without direction. He quietly adjusts, he reroutes, he pivots, and he does it without making noise. This is where his real strength shows: adaptability, not in a passive way, but in a strategic one. He doesn't need everything to go according to plan. He just needs to keep moving with clarity and purpose. The alpha tries to control the storm. The sigma learns how to move through it without losing himself. One wastes energy resisting. The other redirects energy and finds a smarter way forward. So if your plans just fell apart, take a breath. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means life is inviting you to become more flexible, more alert, and more capable. Be like the sigma. Don't break. Reroute. The mission stays the same, even when the map changes. Number 10. When faced with silence. Silence can be unsettling. No messages, no applause, no reassurance, just space, just stillness. That's where most people get uncomfortable, and that's where the alpha starts to unravel. The alpha needs noise, movement, engagement, something to bounce his energy off of. When the world goes quiet, he starts to question himself. Am I still being seen? Am I still important? He'll speak louder, post more, try harder. Not because he's weak, but because his identity is wired to respond to attention. Silence feels like a threat. But for the sigma, silence is a completely different experience. It's not a void, it's a tool. He doesn't just tolerate it, he thrives in it. While others rush to fill empty space, the sigma leans into it and listens for what it's trying to teach. In silence, the sigma reflects. He refines, he checks himself, he studies others. He sees what the noise usually covers up. And in that stillness he sharpens, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. He doesn't need to be heard all the time because he's not here to prove anything. He's here to evolve. That's the real difference. The alpha shouts to stay relevant. The sigma disappears to grow deeper. And when he finally reemerges, he's not the same man who left. He's stronger, clearer, and more prepared. So when life goes quiet, when the calls stop, when the recognition fades, when there's no one clapping, don't rush to make noise. Use that silence. Let it stretch you. Let it strip away the distractions. Because the sigma knows what most people don't. Silence isn't the absence of power. It's the space where power is built. Number 11. When there's nothing to prove. At some point, the real ones outgrow the show, the chase, the constant need to be seen, heard, or validated. And this is where the alpha and the sigma quietly go their separate ways. The alpha, even after success, still wants the room to notice. He wants people to know he made it, He keeps showing up, keeps talking loud, keeps flashing the wins, because in his world value is tied to visibility. He needs to be recognized to feel complete. That's not weakness, it's just how he's wired. But the Sigma? Once he's reached his personal summit, he no longer needs an audience. The flex becomes silence. He stops posting, stops performing, stops proving. Because his worth doesn't come from applause, it comes from knowing. And once you know, you don't need to explain. The Sigma's victory looks like absence, like peace, like logging off when others are still fighting to trend. Not because he's hiding, but because he's already done what he came to do. And when there's nothing left to prove, presence becomes optional. That's the beauty of it. Victory doesn't always roar. Sometimes it walks out quietly while everyone else is still fighting for credit. The Sigma understands that. He doesn't need to win loud, he just needs to win real. And while the Alpha is still performing success, the Sigma is already gone, living it. So if you ever reach that point where your soul feels full, where your results speak for themselves, don't be afraid to disappear a little. That's not retreat, that's mastery. Let the world keep shouting. Your silence will say more than they ever could. In conclusion, you don't need to be louder than others. You just need to be louder than your own doubt. There will always be noise, people competing, performing, trying to be the biggest presence in the room. But true strength isn't found in how loud you can get. It's found in how grounded you stay when everything around you is trying to shake you. Being a Sigma male means you don't need the spotlight to feel seen. You don't need applause to move with purpose. You don't chase dominance, you build depth. You're not here to impress everyone. You are here to know yourself so deeply that no one's opinion can touch your direction. While others scramble to stay relevant, you are busy becoming irreplaceable. While they talk, you study. While they react, you reflect. And while they rush to be chosen, you create your own lane without ever asking for permission. These 11 situations show something most people miss. The real winner is not the one who takes over the room. It's the one who doesn't need the room to win. If you've ever felt out of sync with the noise around you, let that be confirmation. You were never meant to follow the script. You were meant to write your own, quietly, intentionally, powerfully. So stay calm in chaos, stay honest in games, stay sharp in silence. You're not behind, you're simply not performing. And that's what makes you dangerous. You're not just playing life, you're mastering it, one move at a time. Thank you for watching. God bless you.